Hello, Pewter people. Scott Reynolds here with another Pewter Pulse. Let's talk about a dirty word in the NFL. It's the word bust. It's used way too early and way too often, I think, to describe NFL players, some of which just haven't developed yet. Well, there's a couple of players that you wanted to name busts as early as last year and maybe even into training camp in the preseason this year. I'm talking about Luke Goedeke on offense, the Bucs right tackle, and Zyon McCollum on defense, the Bucs cornerback, who's started 3 games in place of Carlton Davis in weeks 2 and 3, and Jamel Dean this past week against the New Orleans Saints. When you look at Goedeke, all he needed was a chance to play his natural position, right tackle. He was a fish out of water moving from right tackle at Central Michigan to left guard in the NFL and had a murderer's row of opponents to begin his rookie season last year. That didn't do anything for his confidence. But now that he's on the right side, Goedeke is the second best offensive lineman in Tampa, behind Tristan Wirfs, of course, who's having a Pro Bowl caliber season at left tackle. No surprise. But Goedeke looks credible. He just got through manhandling Cameron Jordan. Now, granted, Jordan's probably past his prime a little bit, but this guy's been a thorn in the Bucs side for years. He's been an absolute Bucs killer. And Goedeke, well, he erased him, held him to just 4 tackles, and Jordan didn't really have much of an impact in that game. As far as McCollum goes, last year he was a guy that was gun shy, wasn't confident. He missed those last 2 preseason games where he would have gotten a ton of reps with a hamstring injury that he suffered in a joint practice against Tennessee. And that really set back his development. Now he's caught up to speed, has a lot of playing time and experience under his belt, and it's paying off. Zyon McCollum is playing really good football. He only allowed 1 catch for 5 yards in last week's game against the Saints. Insiders at One Buck Place are buzzing over this guy, saying that Jamel Dean better get healthy and better play better. Otherwise, it might be hard to take McCollum out of the starting lineup. So sometimes all we need is a little bit of time to let these players develop. I know we're in this instant, microwave, on-demand, instant gratification society, but it's not really serving these players that you're so quick to label busts very well. I learned my lesson back in the day. There was a draft pick, a day 2 guy by the name of Ronde Barber, who was awful as a rookie. You could ask Ronde how bad he played as a rookie in 1997. He would tell you. He's honest about it. Ronde was so bad as a 3rd-round draft pick that the Bucs actually drafted another cornerback in the 2nd round in 1998, a year later, in Barber and Kelly, because they didn't think Ronde Barber was going to be anything and develop. Well, Ronde took the challenge and just needed more playing time, and he finally developed into a Pro Bowl caliber corner, and that duo right there starred in the 2002 Super Bowl season. Ronde Barber led the NFL in interceptions in 2001, and Barber Kelly led the NFC in interceptions in 2002. It became a great duo for the Buccaneers at the cornerback position. Of course, Ronde Barber eventually became a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying Zyon McCollum or Luke Goedeke are going to rise to that level. But we have to understand, though, that players, like Logan Hall and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, these guys just need some time. Don't forget that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka played essentially 1 year at Washington in 2019. Then COVID hit. And even though the Pac-12 only played 4 games that year, he skipped the COVID season. So he came to Tampa Bay really raw, but a very good athlete and has a lot of good tools. But he's also working with his 3rd outside linebackers coach this year. And he's trending in the right direction with 2 sacks already. And he had an okay game in New Orleans, and we'll see how he fares against the Lions. Sometimes, though, these players that are drafted just need some time to develop. And I think Logan Hall is one of those guys. He's a first-year starter. He's playing 30 pounds heavier than he did in college. It's an adjustment period, and defensive tackle is not easy to play as a rookie. Now, that doesn't mean that some guys aren't busts. Ronald Jones comes to mind. MJ Stewart, the Bucs cornerback drafted in the second round in 2018, actually before Carlton Davis comes to mind. Stewart just didn't have the speed or athleticism to play in the league and really be a starter, certainly in Tampa. Ronald Jones didn't have the work ethic or the dedication it takes to be a great pro. Sometimes that does happen. You do have some busts, but those players either materialize in time or you look at them right away and say, this guy doesn't have the actual talent to play in the NFL. That was the case with Stewart. Kyle Trask, right? Everybody wants to name this guy a bust. It looks like he can play quarterback and be a credible NFL caliber passer in this league. Now, whether that tops out as a career backup or maybe he ascends to a starter level, all he needed was time. He didn't have that as a third string quarterback behind Tom Brady for the first 2 years. Now, it looks like Trask could come in and maybe save a game or maybe even save the season if something happens to Baker Mayfield. He's not Baker Mayfield. I'm not going to put him in that category, but he looks better now with time in his developmental progress that he didn't have early on in his career when everybody wanted to name him a bust. Kalijah Kancey's the newest one. I mean, holy smokes, this guy's played 11 snaps, and already we've seen some comments on Twitter from Buc fans who are saying this was a wasted pick. Well, you could maybe debate whether Kyle Trask, a quarterback being drafted in the second round, was a wasted pick. I think that's different than saying a guy's a bust. Certainly don't think that Trask is a bust, nor do I think Kalijah Kancey is a bust. Kalijah Kancey hasn't played yet. He's been injured. Go back to Vita Vea's rookie season, and I think he missed the first 4 games of that season with a calf injury or it was a different injury, but he didn't get going until later in his rookie season. So sometimes we just need some patience. I know we want Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield, these guys to just, open up the box and stick them in the starting lineup and they're stars immediately. Doesn't always happen. It's great when it does. But sometimes players like Luke Goedeke and Zyon McCollum just need some playing time, some experience, some confidence. And, they're on the right path. We want you to be on the right path to joining over 12,100 subscribers on our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. That's where you can see more Pewter Pulse videos and other great Bucs video content. Make sure you're following us on social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And visit pewterreport.com for breaking news, inside scoop, injury updates, and game coverage. And I'll be back soon with another edition of the Pewter Pulse.